Okay, this video is primarily targeted at the YouTuber known as Feli from Germany, or Felicia, or however you pronounce your name in German, and primarily her race video. And I want to set the record straight on a lot of untruths that exist around this. Well, first of all, let me describe something to you, and also for the rest of you watching this video, to kind of set the groundwork for what I'm about to talk about. Some years ago, there was an incident in Florida where a black teenager attacked a Hispanic man, knocked him to the ground, and was beating him up, and the Hispanic man defended himself by pulling out his gun, which is legal to carry in the US, and he shot the black teenager, killing him. Now, those are the facts of the incident. But when the media got wind of this story, when the American media got wind of this story, they spun it as a white man murdering an innocent black boy. Yeah, quite far from the incident I just described, isn't it? And as a matter of fact, when I describe how the media described it, some of you in America are probably already getting the gist of what I'm describing. Yes, the Hispanic man's name was George Zimmerman, and the black teen's name was Trayvon Martin. But when I described the real facts of the incident, you probably didn't recognize what I was describing, did you? Because you've only heard the horrible misrepresentation that the media gives. Now, take this kind of representation, multiply it by 10,000, and you pretty much have the mainstream narrative around race in America. And that's what I want you to understand, Felicia, is that when you hear stuff about race and racism in America, it's horribly slanted and misrepresented like this. And of course, there was another incident where a big burly black man robbed a convenience store, and a white cop saw a man matching the guy's description, the robber's description, and went over just to talk to him, and the robber went up to his window, started trying to grab for the officer's gun, which forced the officer to pull out his gun and shoot him. Yes, that was the Michael Brown incident. Described accurately. And especially in the case of Michael Brown, that at the hearing of Darren Wilson, they got to hear the actual facts of the case and not the media spin, and that's why they dismissed the charges against Darren Wilson. And of course, there was a recent incident where a black man on a New York subway was violently attacking people, and a white man came up behind him to stop him by putting him in a chokehold, which unfortunately killed him. And yes, that was Daniel Penny. And the Michael Brown incident especially sparked all kinds of riots, violence, and angry protests, and yet it was all based on a lie. But you see, this is what happens when you get all of your information from mainstream sources. You get distorted misrepresentations of facts that are slanted to push a narrative that has a political agenda behind it. And frankly, Feely, I think that America could do a lot better if they were doing what your country of Germany is doing right now, which is trying to... If I understood your video correctly, you said you were trying to eliminate the concept of race altogether. And especially from people on the American political right, yes, including the Donald Trump supporters, there is a strong sentiment that they want to eliminate the concept of race as well. Now, you probably don't know this because the mainstream media that talks about us horribly misrepresents us as a bunch of evil racists and doesn't actually represent our actual opinions. And that's a big, big problem. 90% of what people think they know about the American right is a complete made-up straw man made out of whole cloth. But to set the record straight, we are not sexist, we are not racist. We are not any of the istophobic things that the mainstream media accuses us of. And the thing is, lots of people recently who have flipped their political affiliation from Democrat to Republican are people who are learning the truth about us for the first time. See, the problem with building up a straw man is that if people are emotionally invested for a long time in believing the straw man that you build up, and then they suddenly discover that the straw man you've been building up isn't real, then it's inevitable that when they find out the truth, that they are going to hate and resent you for building up that straw man with them. And they are going to turn against you very, very hard. Now, I've heard a lot of stories of that sort of thing happening, both with people changing their political affiliation and also people turning against their religious families. Like, you'll hear lots of stories about people talking about their homophobic, bigoted parents who taught them that gays were these disgusting, evil, depraved people, but then they actually met some gay people in real life and discovered that they were friendly and nice and stuff. And it didn't fit at all the straw man that they were taught to believe. And technically they'd be right. A lot of people who, well, identify as gay are actually genuinely nice people. The problem is they are not the same as the gay celebrities, which are the most prominent people that most prominent gay people that most people see, and they are rather ugly and mean-spirited and stuff. And of course, the notorious gay LGBTQIA TikTokers that are acting so weird and crazy well, they are overrepresented on TikTok. And overrepresentation of a certain type of people that you associate with a certain type of people really causes a lot of problems, is really the cause of a lot of other problems. Such as the the fact that people pay more attention to Nick Fuentes than they do ordinary right-wing Republicans. But you got to understand, the normal, ordinary right-wing Republicans, they don't like Nick Fuentes. And I made an entire playlist that proves that. I made an entire playlist of Nick Fuentes supporters that challenge more mainstream right-wing people, and they get into very heated arguments about it. Now, it's interesting about the Groypers is that I don't agree with them, but I at least understand why they get the ideas they have in their heads. But their ideas are wrong, and their ideas are based on a lot of emotion and limited information. Like, for example, the Groypers believe that behavior is inherently endemic to race, and they're basing that on the simple-minded observation that they're used to seeing people of a certain race behaving a certain way. Now, on the other hand, I know that that's not true because I have, of course, seen people of that particular race who don't behave that way. And it's similar to what I was talking about earlier. When you only know the most extreme representatives of a particular group of people, and that kind of fallaciously becomes your universal paradigm for them. But anyway, I just wanted to at least get the idea in your head, Fairly, that the issue of race in America is far more nuanced than most mainstream sources of information would have you believe. So, in conclusion, I just want to say, Feely, that I think that on this topic you should go beyond mainstream sources of information and look to ones who have better evidence to support their claims.